I'm wearing a black shirt because I love the Night Court so much. Hello everyone! Today I am going to be discussing a book that just makes me so happy, and it's so good, and I have so many thoughts on this book. And that book that I'm going to be reviewing is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. First of all, can we just appreciate how stunning this cover is? I mean, it matches so well with A Court of Thorns and Roses. I actually got a copy of this book a week early. It was in my bookstore. You bet that I started reading this book the minute I got my hands on it. So this book does come out on May 3rd. Let me just tell you that it was excellent. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't want to say too much about this because it is a second book in a trilogy. All I'm gonna say is that you need to read this series because I thought I loved A Court of Thorns and Roses a lot, and I still do. I like it, but I love this book 10 times more. This one just outshines it so much. I'll just say this. I haven't read a book in a long time that made me so invested into the story. The whole time I was reading this, I actually felt like I was a part of this story and that I was with them and I was with these characters and I was participating in all of these events. I just didn't want this book to end because I just wanted to stay in this world forever, and I know I'm gonna have such a book hangover. I already have it. Like, I don't want to read any other book. I love this book, and I'm not gonna say much else for non-spoilery parts, but you just need to read it if you have not read these books yet, because it will not disappoint you. So that is it for my non-spoilery section. If you have not read the book, please go do so and then come back and listen to the rest of my review. Most of this review is just me gushing over Rhysand, but please bear with me because I will talk about other parts, I promise. Just some of my initial thoughts before I go into all of my other thoughts on the book. I really appreciated how Sarah J. Maas did Farah's character in the beginning of this book, and even throughout most of the book, how she was very broken and affected by what happened to her under the mountain, and she was very traumatized, which was really hard to read about, but I liked that it was in there because it wasn't just that, you know, she was a fae now and that everything was gonna be okay and she was fine. I really liked that aspect of the story, even though it was sad. I hate how people are saying how evil Rhysand is, because yes, he did do some bad things, but he did it to save his people. I would just reread pages as I was going through the book because I wanted to slow down my process of reading it and really savor all of my favorite moments. And even though it was pure torture, I still really loved the slow burning relationship between Rhysand and Farah. I liked that he didn't force himself upon her and the relationship took time to build. So now I'm going to get into all of my thoughts on this book. There's a lot of them, as I've mentioned, but I am just completely in love with this story. I loved how right off the bat Farah was calling Rhysand Rhys, and I don't know if that was maybe just easier for Sarah J. Maas to write Rhys instead of Rhysand, but it still made me really happy. Mind you though, in this, is that I used to really like Tamlin. In the first book, I really liked him with Farah. Even when Rhysand was in the first book, I liked Rhysand a lot, but I was kind of on the fence as I was reading it. I still liked her and Tamlin because it was throughout the whole book, but after I finished A Court of Thorns and Roses and I just kind of got thinking about it, I fell completely in love with Rhysand. I love how she comments that her and Tamlin aren't mates yet because Rhys and her are mates. just made me so happy. I love how Farrah and Lucien still banter back and forth. I love the line when she says, "Good to know you're still a prick, Lucien." I really like the part when Farrah was talking to Braun and Hart at that party, I believe it was. Or it was like the day before her wedding. One of the guards asked about, has Rhysand brought her to the night court, and then she says no, and the one guard said, he's probably running scared now that Tamlin's got his powers back. And then Farrah's like, then you don't know Rhysand very well at all. I was so happy when Rhysand broke up at the wedding, and it looked like Farrah was gonna break it off anyway because she was having a panic attack about it, but she called and was begging for someone to help her, and then Rhysand came, and I know he did it a little bit for himself too, but he also was doing it to protect Farrah and to help her well-being, and it was just great. I was so excited. I really appreciated when Rhys told her his opinion on her wedding dress. He was basically like, yeah, you look terrible in that. And at that point, I just knew that Rhysand was gonna save her and help her and heal her. Him just being really honest with her, I really appreciated that. I find this scene really amusing when she first got there and they were kind of bickering, and she threw her shoe at him. I know she was really powerful, but she just picks up her shoe, chucks it at her head, and then she picks up her other shoe, and Rhysand just turns around and he's like, I dare you. I just thought that scene was super amusing. Just because I'm like, why would you throw a shoe at him? I knew what she was gonna do it, but I just got really upset that Farrah was telling Tamlin everything about the night court, and later on we find out that Rhys knew that too. That's why he didn't show her anything really important. But I'm just like, why are you helping Tamlin? He's... no, not okay. I loved Farrah for giving that Wraith that money. I was just so proud of her. It really bothered me that basically all Tamlin and Farrah would do was have sex. Like, it bothered me because I'm like, if you love him and you want to do that, like, fine, go ahead. Like, I'm not stopping you, but it just seemed like that was all they could do. Like, they didn't communicate, they didn't talk at all, which I think was the point that Sarah J. Maas was trying to put across, but it still just put me off, and I did not like that. Rhys is so caring that he notices right away that Farrah has not been eating and she's not well. I almost swooned when Tamlin asked Rhysand to break the bond, and he would give Rhysand anything he wanted if he would just break the bond between them, and then Rhysand said, I already have everything I want. I was like, yes. When Farrah got back to the night court and then Rhysand said, eat breakfast with me, that line has never been more hotter because he just cares about her so much. I get that Tamlin wants to protect her, but it was really annoying. I did not like how overbearing he was, and I get that part of him was broken too from being under the mountain, but it was just getting really annoying, and I was fed up with what he was doing. Farrah was being super stubborn about Tamlin, and I know she was very broken at that time, so she couldn't really think that well, but she's like, Tamlin lightened up the guards, so he's really nice. He's trying. He's really trying hard, and I'm like, Rhysand had no guards on you, and he's letting you do what you want. Why are you being so stubborn? I am just waiting for the day when Lucien finally stands up to Tamlin. I'm still waiting for it. I'm going to wait for it until he does it because he deserves better. When Tamlin trapped Farrah inside the house, I'm like, how could you? You are so cruel. I just don't understand his mindset at all. Why would you think that is okay to do? Like, clearly he doesn't care at all, because why? You wouldn't do that to someone like that, especially after she's been trapped for so long. But when Mor and Rhys saved the day, I was just waiting for it. And the line when Mor was talking to Farrah and she said Rhys shattered the shield without a thought. And Rhysand is just so good because he would have let her go back to the spring court if she really wanted to. If she said that she wanted to go back to the spring court, he would let her go in a second. And Tamlin would never do that. I really enjoyed seeing all of Rhys's people in Velaris liking him and going up to him, and Rhysand knew all of their names. I really just wanted one quick cutscene over to Tamlin just to see how mad he was that she was gone, because that would have made me really happy. I liked Rhysand's friends even before we officially met them, when they were banging on the door. Feyre wasn't actually introduced to them, we just heard them talking outside the door. Just the fact that Rhys was there for Feyre when she was throwing up after her nightmare just shows how much of a better man he is. I almost started crying when he held her hair back, and I don't know why. Amren, not gonna lie, really scared me in the first half of the book. I was just really intimidated by her. I still trusted her, but she scared me. I love this scene when Rhysand and Feyre went to the bone carver and they were just talking, and Rhysand asked him where they hid the cauldron, and then the bone carver said, "Tell me a secret no one knows, Lord of Night, and I'll tell you mine." And then Feyre said, "I braced myself for whatever horrible truth was about to come my way." But Rhysand said, "My right knee gets a twinge of pain when it rains. I wrecked it during the war, and it's hurt ever since." Like, I'm just dying over it right now as I read that. I was laughing so hard when he said that. I couldn't stop. The more and more I'm with Rhysand's friends, I just love them even more. I loved their family dynamics, and I wish that I was a part of this family. Being with the Weaver was really scary, but I'm glad it brought out some emotion in Feyre, and that she realized that yes, she did want to live. Freaking Ithani, that's what I call her. I know that's not her name, but I can't pronounce it. It's like Ianthe. I seriously can't pronounce her name, but I did not like her at all. I was not amused by anything she did. And if she so much as touched Lucien too, like, I was upset that she was about to touch Rhysand. The scene when the group met Feyre's family was just very amusing. I was just chuckling to myself that whole time. It says, "Cassian was grimacing as we trailed them. Rhys's brows were raised, and Azriel looked more inclined to blend into the nearest shadow and avoid this conversation altogether." Awkward family dinner is awkward. I really liked the part too when they were about to all go to bed and Rhysand was kind of being a little snippy, and then Feyre says, "This one," I added with a glare in Rhys's direction, "is only cranky because he's old and it's past his bedtime." When Rhysand was training Feyre to kind of start using her powers, and I did really think it was a funny scene too, because Rhysand said, "Fine, practice all you want in privacy. Give a shout down the bond if you get anything accomplished before breakfast." And then she said, "What, literally shout at the tattoo?" And then he said, "You could try rubbing it on certain body parts. I might come faster." I was just dying at every scene when Rhysand and Feyre were writing notes to each other back and forth, and the note would disappear because Rhysand was flirting with Feyre and Feyre was doing it back to him. Finding out that Rhys had tattoos made him 10 times more hotter than he already is. And Cassian was training her that once. He was being really nice and letting her talk about Tamlin and kind of get her feelings out. Well, more like punching him, but still. And even when she burned his hand, he still offered her another punch and was like, "Yeah, you can hit me, I can take it." And then when she started sobbing and admitted what was bothering her, and Rhysand was right there to comfort her, I couldn't. When they all go to the summer court, I was kind of confused by the bond between her and Tarkin. Every time she talked about him and being by him, she said power of the male beside her. Like, why does she reference him like that? But I just don't understand why she said there was a bond between them and she could feel his power and all of this. Like, why couldn't she feel it with everyone else and all the other High Lords that she was by? I don't know, I guess it really doesn't matter too much, but I was a little bit confused on that. I love how she admits that she doesn't want to go back to Tamlin, but she would if she had to. Foreshadowing. I just realized that now. I hate this book. I was so freaking pissed when Rhysand was flirting with Friedessa. I knew nothing would have happened, but I still didn't like the thought of him being with anyone else but Farah. It made my freaking blood boil. I was just like, why is he holding her hand? How dare he hold her hand? I was fuming at that scene. I was just in my bed, silently screaming and hitting things because I was so upset. And then Farah says she realized that she was unhappy. My heart, why? I loved when Farah and Rhysand were arguing though, and then she said, if I'm jealous, then you're jealous. It just reminded me of that scene from Shadowhunters, and when Clary and Alec were talking, and then he's like, no, you're in love with Jace. Even so, them talking about jealousy didn't seem very petty. It wasn't like she's like, oh, you're jealous. Farah said, oh, you are actually jealous. So it wasn't kind of that annoying jealousy thing. When Rhysand started talking about how he didn't like flirting with her, I was kind of like, oh, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have got as mad as I did. And when he said he waited for her at breakfast, I felt super, super guilty for being mad at him after that. And when those water wraiths came back in to save Farah and Amren after they almost drowned, Amren and Farah laughing together after they got back to Valeris was actually a really cute scene. And after that point, I really started to love Amren and I wasn't afraid of her anymore. And when Rhysand was having the nightmare, but she stayed and helped him like he helped her. And of course, he sleeps naked. I should have known that. And when Farah kissed him on the cheek, I had to take a minute and just process that. It was just a kiss on the cheek, but I still had to take a moment. I found his knee tattoos really, really hot, and I don't know why. I can just imagine him with those tattoos, and it's really, really hot. All I want to do in life is just fly with Rhysand. Is that too much to ask? Really? Rhys in his element as a High Lord though was really, really hot. I know he kind of had to be cruel and harsh, but it was really, really sexy and I really appreciated it. I really liked the Starfall scene, and when Rhysand and Farah went up on the roof to get a better view, I just thought this whole scene was super, super cute because one of the stars or the souls ran into her and hit her in the face, and it says, as I turned to him more fully, something blinding and tickling slammed into my face. I reeled back, crying out as I bent over, shielding my face against the light. Rhys let out a startled laugh. A laugh. And when I realized that my eyes hadn't been cinched out of their sockets, I whirled on him. I could have been blinded, I hissed, shoving him. He took a look at my face and burst out laughing again. Real laughter, open and delighted and lovely. And then later it says, he sidestepped me, veering towards the balcony rail, but not fast enough to avoid the careening star that collided with the side of his face. He leaped back with a curse. I laughed, the sound rasping out of me. Not a chuckle or a snort, but a cackling laugh. And I laughed again and again as he lowered his hands from his eyes. It was just such a cute scene, and Farah was laughing again, and I just loved it so much. When Lucien appeared in the forest, I flipped out. Even though I am really disappointed in Lucien because I still think that he should be on Farah's and Rhysand's side, but it was still a great scene. To show the real difference between Rhysand and Tamlin, after the scene when Lucien left, Rhysand said, I heard every word between you. I knew you could take care of yourself, and yet I found myself deciding that if you took his hand, I would find a way to live with it. It would be your choice. And Rhysand got hit with the arrows. I almost screamed out loud. And even then, his first thought was to protect Farah. And when she told Rhysand she was taking the arrows out of his wings, that she painted the night and stars and the moon on her dresser, it just gave me a shiver. I knew that Farah and Rhysand were mates just from assumptions, especially from A Court of Thorns and Roses, when Rhysand was leaving Farah and he saw her and shock was on his face and he stumbled back. I assumed that meant that they were mated, but him saying it still just, it made me so excited. But I was not expecting her to get so mad about it, or Rhysand, because she just walked away from him and he was still in pain. The more she said, "Get me out of here." I honestly didn't think that she would get so mad. I mean, I would have been super thrilled to find out that Rhys was my mate, but that's just me. I mean, I can see her being mad because he promised her that he wouldn't tell her any lies. I wish that I could go into that cabin in the snowy woods and spend time with all of them. It just sounds like such a good time. I was just reading Rhysand's story about his time with Amarantha, and it was like it was flashing before my eyes. Like I was actually there when everything happened. Everything around me just went away in that moment. I was so engrossed in that sad story. And when he started crying, I almost started crying too. And if anyone ever speaks illy of Rhysand, just read pages 517 through 528. And that will shut you up real quick, because that story was just so heartbreaking. And then when he came back, first words he said to Mor was, "She's my mate." I can't with this book. Despite all of that sadness, the way to accept the mating bond was food. Like, I love that. That was just great. I waited 531 pages for this to finally happen, and let me tell you, it was worth the whole slow burning relationship, because when they finally got together, I couldn't handle myself. And they got back after a little trip, after they accepted the mating bond. Rhys being so protective over Farah was really, really sexy. Like, I am not gonna lie, I really like this scene when Rhysand just got super pissed at Cassian, because Cassian knew that before they went to the king, he had to get that off, because otherwise he just would not be able to control himself. I was panicking so hard when he showed the queens the city of Valeris. I just don't want anyone to touch that city. And I never thought it, but I ship Cassian and Nesta so hard. So hard. I love them together so much. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but I ship them. I ship them so hard. Kind of a side note, I did really like more Cassian and Azriel's relationship. It was very dynamic, because Mor's first time was with Cassian, but Azriel loved her, and so did Cassian in a way. I thought their dynamics together was really, really interesting. And I don't think we'll see more of that. I don't really know, especially because I really like Cassian and Nesta together so much. I gasped at how the young queen gave them the book, and I was really, really happy that she helped them out. But then when they killed the queen, my heart just broke. I felt like crying so hard when the city was getting attacked. I was really short of breath. I just did not like it. Farah fighting with her powers was freaking awesome though. Despite all the craziness and the sadness of the city being attacked, I really enjoyed reading about all the different things she did. I was praying so hard that no one would get hurt or killed when they got to the king. I assumed that they would get hurt, but I was just hoping that no one would get killed, because if they did, I don't know if I would be able to handle that. I couldn't. Oh, just thinking about it makes me really, really stressed out. My heart was pounding so hard that I thought I was gonna be sick. Honestly, through the whole last about 50 pages of the book, I felt like I was gonna be sick. My stomach was super queasy, and it was in knots, and it was just not okay. But screw you, Tamlin, because I just hate you so much now that you're working with the king. To think that I liked you in the first book, I can't. Then when Cassian's wings got ripped through, I'm like, oh my god, those poor wings. It made me really sad, and I'm pretty sure they're healed now, and I hope they are, because I was so scared that he lost them. Honestly, I thought he did, and I'm like, that's it. Azriel too, when he got stabbed, I thought he was a goner for sure, but I'm really glad he's not. And it really got me mad too, because this was mostly Tamlin's fault for starting this whole thing and working with the king, and then he was trying to fix it when her sisters came in, and I'm like, no, don't even try. I am mad at you. This is basically your fault. And then I was freaking out when Elaine and Nesta turned into Fae. Like, I can't wrap my mind around it that they're Fae now. They're Fae. And poor Nesta, because you know she's not gonna like that. Like, she will not be happy about that. Now that I think about it, I really hope we get some scenes of them in the next book kind of adjusting to their new life, because I really want to see how that plays out. And then when Cassian was going towards Nesta, when she was fighting and screaming and he was just reaching for her, and my heart, I couldn't. And then I almost screamed when Lucien and Elaine are mates. I couldn't. I can't. I can't. When I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I liked Lucien and Nesta together, but I'm okay with Elaine. I'm really okay with this. I died when he's like, you're my mate, and I'm like, what? Just despite all this craziness, I am really happy for Lucien. I really do think that eventually he'll kind of break himself free of Tamlin. At least that's what I hope will happen. So I am really happy for him, because I still do like him as a character. Just because someone stumbles and loses their path doesn't mean they're lost forever. Sometimes we all just need a little help. Yes, I did just quote X-Men about Lucien. And I just hated life at the moment when Farah was pretending that the bond was broken. I was so mad at Tamlin when he said to Rhys that he didn't care, that she was his mate, that she was his, and I'm like, no, you shut your mouth right now, because she is not yours and she will never be yours. I actually started crying when the king broke their bond and they were in so much pain and they were just writhing on the floor. My heart broke for them so much. I felt bad for Lucien too, that Elaine was taken away from him because that's his mate, but I also just cared more about Rhysand and Farah at that moment, and I was just too sad for them to feel super sad for Lucien. Lucien knows though that Farah's lying. Like, please, Lucien, no, because he was wary. He was wary of her when she was talking, and hopefully he will help her, and he'll probably only help her to get back Elaine, which I'd be okay with, because as long as he stays away from Tamlin. I was really surprised but also happy that it was in Rhysand's point of view, which is good, because maybe in the next book we'll get Rhysand's point of view too, and we'll still get Olive Moore and Amren and Cassian and Azriel, because I don't think I could handle it being most of the book with Tamlin. I'm already thinking about it now, and I can't. I'm still wondering though if maybe when they actually get back together and Farah breaks the spring court apart, that will Rhysand be able to put the bond tattoo back on her? Because I know they still have the bond, which, let me tell you, I'm really, really happy about that, because I was really scared that they would not have the bond anymore, and I was almost gonna, like, blow up, because if that would have happened, I don't know if I could handle that. But the bond is still there, thankfully. And Amren caring about where Farah was when she kept on asking, where is she, where is she, where is she? And then she was saying how, no, you need to get her back, that she's your mate. It was really touching that she cared so much. I actually screamed when Rhysand told them that she was the High Lady of the Night Court. It makes me so happy, because Tamlin was like, no, there is no High Lady, and now she is a High Lady with Rhysand. So happy. I'm so happy about that. You have no idea. I teared up again when he said about Farah that she was his queen. Farah's acting, and Rhysand's for that matter, was on point. It's so good, and Farah's gonna have to keep it up this whole next book, I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it so much. I just don't want to think about it, honestly. I'm just gonna pretend that everything is okay with this book and that it ended happily and she's gonna live with Rhysand forever. I'm just gonna pretend that until I get to the next book, and we'll see what happens after that. I'm terrified, if you can't tell. And honestly, the last 50 pages, I'll say it again, was a series of just me fanning myself, covering my mouth, gasping, and crying. It was so intense. I couldn't breathe after it. I was just, the whole time I'm like, I was freaking out so much. And damn, that last line when she was talking about how she was going to be a spy and break Tamlin's court from the inside. And the last line was, and so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. So good. But I don't want Tamlin touching her in any single way. I really hope there isn't any scenes with them kissing or doing anything else, because I don't know if I can handle that. I'm not ready for it. I can't. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to yet. But I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope she kind of makes the excuse that I need to readjust to all of this again. He really messed with my mind. So hopefully that would be the case. And hopefully she isn't with him for too long. I'm really hoping that maybe she'll just be with him for that first little bit, you know? It's not gonna happen, but a girl can dream, right? Alright, and that is finally it. As you can tell, I really, really enjoyed this book. I don't know how long this review is gonna be, but I'm assuming it's gonna be pretty long, so if you stuck around this far, thank you so much for watching. I love this book so much. I really want to just reread it again right now, because the thought of reading anything else but this book right now kind of makes me really sad, and I'm desperate for the next book to come out, and I hope everything's okay. I hope everything's okay and everyone lives and it'll all be fine. But until then, I'm just gonna be waiting. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!